And let's actually, so now you should be able to see the code, right? So now let's increase by 1. Okay, so just by pressing it, now if I press it and hold it, it's not going to do anything. But if I press it, you can sit here and see it's going to keep going. Now if I press it and go all the way up to alright, so what we're going to do now in structured text is we're going to actually do a front end trigger. So this is like an example of like in Rockwell where you have a one-shot rising or one-shot falling, exactly the same. They have a front end and a back end trigger. So basically what we're going to do is a simple illustration of speed controls. So meaning you could use this as a button push to control speeds. So without talking about this any further, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and add some things. So what we need real quick, and we'll just throw in some things up here. We'll call this speed increase, and then we're going to have this as our PB, which is our push button. So this would be a bool, and we'll close that out and declare that. So this would be the speed decrease PB, and we'll declare that as a bool. And so we have those two. Now let's go ahead and add the increase, and this would be a bool, and decrease, which is going to be like, these are just triggers, so or these are just bools that we'll be using throughout. Now what I want to get into here, this is going to be your front end trigger. So we're going to have speed up, and then we're going to call this ons, similar to what you would see in Rockwell. We'll just call it an ons, right? And then to declare this, again, we're going to go to our input assistant and structured text, and then we're going to go to our, let's see, I believe it is in triggers. Okay, so this is in triggers, and then again this is a front end and a rear trigger. So we're going to use a front, and this gives you an example of the code. We're going to grab that real quick too as well. So we'll just declare this as a front end trigger. We'll close that, and I want to go ahead and paste the code in here so you see it, and then we'll do that, because the examples are really important. Not only that, where to find the examples is extremely important, because you're going to be on your own doing this stuff, and you're going to need to find out where you're going to where to get it. Okay, so this is going to be the speed down, again front end. We're just doing front end triggers, so I'm going to use this as an example. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to say if the speed increase is pressed, then increase by 1. Similar to that instance, we're going to copy this. This is just a comment, okay? Similar to this, we're going to copy this, and we'll just put in decrease right here. Decrease, then decrease, increase by 1. Okay, so all right, we have our simple illustration of what the front end trigger should be. And what the front end trigger has is a click, and then it has the click would need to trigger, right, a bool to go off of, right? Then that would be our push button. Okay, then the next thing would be the front end trigger would have a finish. A Q is always a done. Okay, so think about a dot Q, similar to the timer done. This is dot Q would be done, right? So this is going to be turning on that bool, which is going to be our increase decrease. Okay, so this keeps it really simple. Instead of using the if then else of the basically the Q, we want to use the if then else of a actual bit. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the speed command, the speed up front end trigger. So let's do speed. Actually, let's grab this. Let's keep this simple. Let's grab it, and we'll do. This is going to spread these out. This is going to be speed increase or speed up ons. Okay, speed up ons. We'll grab it right here. And then we're going to open it up just like we did our timers. And then we're going to say click. Okay. And then we're going to say equals. And then this is going to be our speed push button. Okay, speed up push button. So this is going to be the increase speed PB. Now we're going to close and then put our semicolon. Now we want to have the, what is it going to do? What is it going to do? So this is going to be the increase. Okay. So this is going to trigger the increase. So we're going to go input right here, input assistant. Then we'll come over here and say, okay, well, if the Q happens, the Q of the speed up ons, right? So if the speed up on Q comes on, which is the done bit, the done, right? There's a click and a done. That's it. Okay, so that is the official way to put that in. Now we're going to do the same thing here for the instruction of the down. Okay, so the down ons, we're going to open it up. Again, we're going to do click, right? Click, and this is going to be equal to, and you probably guessed it by now, our speed decrease push button. And then we're going to have this as the bit that's controlled is going to be the decrease bit. Okay, the decrease bit is going to be here. We're going to have that just like this, and then we're going to have that as the on, or the Q for that. Okay, so this is going to be the speed down Q. Okay, and then we'll close. All right, so now we're going to do our if then else. If, you might have guessed it by now, if increased, if the increased bit is hit, then we want to take our reference, right? Our reference, and that's one thing I didn't add. Sorry. I want to add our speed reference. So what we would do is we'd have speed reference up. We're going to add this up top. Reference equals a real, and again, a real is giving you a variable, right? It's giving you an ability to have a decimal point, and that's similar to a dent where it would not have a decimal point, right? So we're going to say our increase bit is going to be equal to increase plus 1. So increase, or I'm sorry, not increase plus 1, but speed reference plus 1. Plus 1. And then we're going to say else speed equals speed. Speed. Well, let's use the input. I'm going to get you used to using that to begin with before you just start typing. Speed equals speed. So it's basically speed input or speed reference equals speed reference. Then close that with a semicolon, and then you end if. Okay, so that's our speed up. Similar to this, we can just copy this if we want to keep things simple, and we're gonna, let's just grab this and paste. I'm gonna have this lined up properly. We're gonna change this to decrease. Okay, so we're gonna go to the decrease, and then we're gonna say decrease is gonna be minus 1. Okay, just that simple, right? So, and let's put in some text above this so you know. So we're going to say if the speed, well, actually, no, what we need to do Let's add some a little bit more code behind here, because we want to make sure that we don't exceed a certain speed. Let's just say the speed is from 0 to 100. So then we need to add in some more code. We're going to say if, and this let's crank this up to, and I apologize for not changing this to begin with. So if the speed reference is greater than, so if the speed reference, say, then speed then speed equals speed, or then speed would be 0. So if the speed goes less than 0, then we want to force the speed to a speed reference. So let's say speed of, we'll say 0. Okay, so real simple. If the speed equals this, then do that. If the speed goes less than a 0, then we want to put it at, force it at 0. If the speed goes to, let's just say a range of 50, we want this one 0 to 50. If the speed reference in our case is greater than or equal to 50, and I want to make a point here. If you actually typed in this here, that wouldn't be right. So you need to make sure you put the correct thing, like greater than first, or if you want to do equal to, it's greater than and then the equal to symbol, not equal to then greater than. Okay, so that's going to be incorrect. So make sure you do that correctly. It's a very common thing that, just, and you'll type it and you wouldn't think anything was wrong with it, because logically it kind of makes sense, but that's just the way it is. Especially in just different languages, different codes, different things. But structured text is structured text, right? All right, so we want to say speed is equal to 50. And we'll just close that out. Okay, so real quick, and we'll actually put in some comments here. Say if the speed is less than 0, then force speed to 0. Now, similar to that, we're going to have if, we're going to say, this is just a comment, right? So it's not an if then else statement, it's just a comment. If the speed is greater than 50, then force a speed of 50. Okay, so the code is written. We need to do some visuals. Oh, we need to get rid of the sample. Let's get rid of the sample. We're just giving you that. I kind of failed to reference that when we were building it, but this is the reason why you put the example in there, because you can use it, right? So now this is done. Excuse me. So let's go over to the visual, and what we need to do in our visual real quick is I like to make a little box as a reference, and we'll build all our controls in front of the box. So let's get the colors correct first. Put the colors, let's change this color to, I don't know, something like a greenish. That would be fine, right? And then we'll have a text. So let's come into common controls and let's put a text, and we'll call this speed controls structure text. Okay, drag this out so it gets all of it. Come in here and make that legible. We'll change the font color to white. We'll change the font to a bold, and then something like a 12 be fine. Alright, so we have that in there. Okay, now I'm going to copy this. The simplest way to copy is Control C, Control V, right? drag this down to here, and what we're going to do is we're going to change this to speed reference. Okay, so now we have the speed reference, and we're going to do below that, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight. Okay, so what I want to do is in the properties of that, I want to come in here and get the actual, I want to add in a text below that. And in that text, let's see what we can just copy this. Let's see, let's grab this real quick, copy, paste, put that right below here, and let's change this to, let's come over here, and actually let's change that instead of a label. Let's put, let's see, change this. Instead of a label, let's come in here and add another visual element. We'll do a text field. Let's do a text field. Add that in there. And you can make the colors if you want to not stand out. But let's go ahead and change these. Let's do the font color is white. And the font, let's see, we'll change that to a bold, and I believe 12 is what we've been using. Now the text in here is, this is the way you're going to represent this, is going to be a %, and then an I, and that's the basically calling out where you want to use the variable for your text variable. In the text variable, we're going to have speed reference. This is going to be our actual speed reference. So we're going to come over here and point to our speed reference, and this will be that. Now we're going to come in and change the font color, or the actual background color. So the background color, we're going to make the same color as our background, just like that. And let's see, let's get the frame color. Let's change the frame color to the same exact thing so it blends in. Alright, so now we need to do our buttons, which is going to be slightly different than we've done before. We're going to do our buttons, and let's do common controls. We're going to do a button over here. Let's get the first button itemized in the way we like it. This is increase. Okay, so first, I don't want the button this big. I think that's, and I want to make sure that the font is legible. So again, we'll come over here, get it bold, 10. That's better. Okay, so we have the increase. Okay, so we have the button. Oh, let's actually undo that. Get that there, and let's copy and paste. Get this here, and let's hit the shift key and align these to top. Okay, so this one's going to be decrease. So we haven't added any tags, any variables. This is where it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to go down to input, you're going to go to toggle, and tap. The tap variable is going to be our increase button. So our increase button, this is going to be our decrease button. And again, tap variable, so under input configuration, then you're going to go to tap, and then that's where you're going to set your variable. A little bit different, right? A little bit different. That's perfectly fine. So now we have that in there, and let's grab this another text, and let's copy and paste. This is going to be right here, and we'll call this speed increase. Okay, speed increase. Let's get that more centered. Copy, paste, and so it's Control V, Control C is what I'm using. Let's line these up. Okay, so to top, and then we're going to do speed decrease. Decrease, just like that. Now we have this. Now our screen is a little bit, I want to make sure that it fits properly. You don't want to have it any bigger than we actually need it. Let's get this just a little bit bigger. So I want to change this as a 14. Let's change the width here to make sure it gives the whole reading. Alright, so this is good. Alright, so now let's go ahead and build. Alright, we're going to hit build everything. And then we're going to come over here to turn our simulate on. Turning our simulation on. We're going to go to log in. We're going to download this, right? That's what that login initially is doing, is generating the code. How you know you're in the right spot is everything comes in, the simulate starts, then you can go in here and the visualization is going to be in that until you start it. Okay. Now the speed, I'm going to drag the visual over here so you can see, and let's actually, so now you should be able to see the code, right? So now let's increase by 1. Okay, so just by pressing it, now if I press it and hold it, it's not going to do anything, but if I press it, you can sit here and see it's gonna keep going. Now if I press it and go all the way up to 50, then it should max out at 50 and not go any higher. Okay, see that? It won't go any higher. Now if I decrease, I can decrease, I can increase. One at a time. So the point of having an actual, using a trigger, or a front end trigger, or a rear trigger, falling trigger, or rising trigger, either way, using a trigger, the point of it is to get the one instance of the scan of that actual button or instance of the bit at that time. If I would not have had that, then the longer I would have pushed this button and held it down, it would have stayed in. See this right here? If I push it, it doesn't do anything. If I release it, it goes on. See? It's that simple. And you can see the trigger. You see that? The click trigger, it's actually true right now, and the button is true, but the speed up on's Q, which is the done bit, is not active right now. It's still false. When I release this button, it will go true, and then therefore my bit called increase will go true. Then my statement says that says if increase, then increase the the speed. See that happen? So it's just, and structure text really quick, but this is a prime example of how to increase speed, and I'm increasing it by 1 every time. Really a simple code. I just wanted to show you another case example of how to do structure text, and why you would do different things, and also give you another example of a different like an example of a one-shot, because a one-shot is a very popular thing in the CodeSys world. It is again using structure text with CodeSys. It's a F trigger, which is what we have, and then you have an R trigger. So we're using the F trigger in this one, as you can see. So all that's working and doing well. So again, with all that said, this is how you do simple speed controls and simple illustration using visualization inside of CodeSys, and also with structure text. So with that said, we'll see you guys on the next one.